In World of Warcraft, most items and content from earlier patches or expansions are still available to the player base. There are, however, a minority of items that were taken out of the game at one point or another. While every expansion has seen items removed, most of them were removed during the Cataclysm expansion. Over time, these often become quite a rare sight, as they can only be found on players who got them prior to their removal, which in many cases happened long ago. While World of Warcraft Classic, which is based on the last patch of the original game, does allow players to get almost all of these items, there are still a small number of items that were either removed so early in the game's history, or in some cases wasn't meant for players to be able to get at all, meaning that they weren't brought back when Classic WoW released in 2019. In this video, we will take a look at 6 of these items, all of which can't be found in Classic, with some of them being so rare that only few players know they ever existed. This is the story of Vanilla WoW's lost items. The first item, or rather group of items, are the original epic quality mounts. They required a character level of 60, cost 1000 gold, and gave a 100% speed boost, just like the mounts we know in Classic today. The difference is that they didn't have armor, instead having unique color schemes. When the game released, developers were still working on adding armor to the high level mounts, with only the undead players having access to armored mounts at level 60 from day 1. Blizzard quickly finished the rest of the race's mounts, which were already introduced in patch 1.4, at which point all of the old versions were removed. Only the few players who managed to get 1000 gold prior to patch 1.4, which was introduced only 5 months after the game released, had one of these mounts, which made them very rare from the beginning. What made these mounts even more rare was that upon finishing the new models, which players deemed to be better looking than the old models, Blizzard added a quest that allowed players to turn in one of the old models and in turn receive the newly added armor versions. This is something that a lot of players later came to regret, as the old versions would never return, becoming increasingly rare over time. The second item is the Easter dress, which players would sometimes find inside brightly colored eggs. These eggs can be found all around Azeroth during the Noble Garden event and usually drops a chocolate consumable, although sometimes an item will drop instead. One of these was the Easter dress, which dropped during the first Noble Garden event in 2005. After this, it was replaced with the elegant dress, likely due to Easter not existing in the Warcraft universe. The new version had the exact same graphics and were identical to the original item in every way other than its name. Later, the elegant dress went on to receive updates where its quality was increased to uncommon, as well as now being considered a cosmetic item. The Easter dress didn't receive any of these updates, and eventually the item kinda broke down, losing both its icon as well as its in-game visuals. The third item is the Contest Winner's Tabard, which was a reward for participating in and finishing highest in a PvP tournament Blizzard made in 2005, when the new honor system was introduced. Here, players would compete for virtual tickets in a lottery, where the higher rank you achieved, the more tickets you will receive. In the end, 100 random numbers were drawn, and the winners would each receive a graphic card from Nvidia. The second place consisted of 300 numbers who would receive a USB drive. Additionally, the Horde and Alliance players with the highest amount of honor on their realm received an in-game item called the Contest Winner's Tabard. As only 2 players per realm got this, it is extremely rare and has only gotten more rare to this day. It should be noted that if you played during World of Warcraft's anniversary event, you can get a buff that makes your tabard look like the Contest Winner's Tabard, although this is only a temporary buff. The fourth item is the fluorescent green Mechano Strider, which is kind of a well-known item among the player base due to the story around it. It was given to a player by accident when a game master tried to restore his normal Mechano Strider that he had deleted. The mount couldn't be bought or looted and wasn't actually available within the game at all, only existing in the game files, and then eventually in the possession of one lucky player. Players first found out that someone had received the mount when it could be found on the European Armory database. When Blizzard later found out that they had made a mistake, they elected to allow him to keep his mount, which instantly became the most rare mount in the game, seeing as only one person worldwide had it. Unfortunately, this wasn't meant to last, as the recipient of the mount tried to sell their account, which Blizzard became aware of. And in patch 6.2 during the Legion expansion, the mount was removed from this collection, meaning that from this point onwards, no one would ever ride the green Mechano Strider ever again. The fifth item is the polar bear collar, which was a time-limited event for a code promotion on the Chinese servers in 2006, which is also when the server for mainland China released. The promotion, as well as the pet, was only available in China and could only be redeemed on realms belonging to the region. The item itself summoned a polar bear named Polly, who was unique at the time. A result of the server having just released when this promotion happened was that only a few players of the region managed to get Poly before the event ended, making the item quite rare in itself. Interestingly, it seems that a single player on an EU realm managed to get this pet. Exactly how this happened is unclear, and there is also a possibility that the data that was collected by MMO Champion that showed a single instance of this pet in the collection of EU players was inaccurate. If the player did indeed receive Poly, they will currently be the only owner of the pet following the closure of Chinese realms in early 2023. For the last and probably least known item, we have to go all the way back to the alpha stages of the game. Here, work was being done on the SaberCat mounts that players of the Night Elf race would come to use once the game released. The basic models were all finished, featuring both darker SaberCats as well as cats with more bright colors. When one of the most well-known employees of Blizzard, Chris Metzen, saw these, he insisted the SaberCats be made exclusively from darker colors as they were more fitting to the Night Elf race. Therefore, when the game released, all of the available Night Elf mounts exclusively used dark color schemes. On the other hand, the bright models, which had already been designed, were kept out of players' reach, only existing in the game files. This was until a player named Artillery got the spotted Nightsaber, which had a completely unique model. The whole situation was quite similar to that of the fluorescent green Mechano Strider, as Artillery also received the mount by accident when a game master tried to restore his regular mount, the striped Nightsaber. Unlike the fluorescent green Mechano Strider, Artillery was not allowed to keep his mount, as it was removed after he created the forum post asking if he had the most rare mount in the game. When fellow players asked him about the event, he stated that he had received compensation that he was satisfied with, although he didn't disclose what this compensation was. Players who looked Artillery up on the armory would now see the striped Nightsaber instead of the unique spotted Nightsaber, which players would never get to see again past this point. This video explored Vanilla WoW's lost non-combat items, and is the last of 3 videos covering the forgotten items of the game's early days. If you would like to see the 2 previous videos which focuses on the removed weapons and armor, feel free to click either of the videos on the screen. I hope that you learned something new and that you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.